We need to drop the disco ball soon.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to a late night edition. Dirt Diamond Sports Talk. I'm Ryan, as always, with my man, Wally. Hey, Wally.
Dirt Diamond After Dark.
After Dark, late night edition.
That's right.
Hey, good win tonight. That was a good one. It was a good one. Astros pull off a good win. The Guardians do the Lord's work against the Seattle Mariners tonight. So it's a good Friday night.
It is a good Friday night. And, tonight we'll get into a little more about this, but this is kind of a microcosm of the Astros season this year. You had the most encouraging thing is that Christian Javier looked like Christian Javier.
Man.
Or on Alvarez, when they needed the run, he drove in the run. The Astros all year have gotten on base. They've hit okay. They just haven't scored any runs. They're about 5th in the league in hitting and 21st in MLB in scoring runs. We'll talk a little more about some of the background on that later on.
Yep. Yeah, Javier was incredible tonight. Reptil was back in action, throwing the four-seamer, hitting 94, 95. Tapering to about 93.8 or so by the 5th inning. Generated 9 whiffs on 36 swings, 8 of those whiffs coming on that four-seamer. So that's a 22% whiff rate. Whiff rate? It's late night.
Come on, Elmer Fudd.
Whiff rate. That's a really strong indicator of his stuff working, 1, and 2, getting back to where he was with just that ball just not being seen well by the batters.
No, yeah, and what he's added the sweeper. So what's really been cool to see is when he was coming back from his Tommy John, he just wasn't trying to get healthy. He was becoming more and more of a pitcher. I put it to you that Hunter Brown could take a look at how Javier has become, even more of a pitcher and do some of that same, because Hunter's, last several outings, it seems like Hunter's just throwing. I mean, he'll have some really numbers that on the surface that could look good, but you just get the feeling there's just so much more there.
Yeah. And Javier wasn't always a induce the contact type of pitcher either, because he relied on that invisible. He was a strikeout guy. Right, though, induced 12 balls into play. Here's something that we kind of threw it before we jumped on here. The average exit velocity on the 12 balls in play tonight was 84.2 miles an hour. That's well below league average. And so suppressing that hard contact with that sweeper, 1, and 2, being able to throw them off with, with that weird thing that he does with his four-seamer.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it should hit it. The whole team has shown heart. This is, you mentioned that the Guardians did the Lord's work against the Mariners, but in all seriousness, that this could be a microcosm of why the Astros always win and why the Mariners always fall short. The Astros just know how to win, and the Mariners just have not figured out how to win. They can play well. You look up and down the Mariners lineup and you just say, that's much better, more powerful lineup than the Astros have. It's a true outcome. It's a true outcome lineup. They walk, they hit, and they got the second highest number of strikeouts in the league. But they just don't know how to win. They've never closed the deal. Until they do, they still haven't.
Well, we've said it all season, and especially these last 2.5 months when the Astros have dealt with so many injuries, is that there's always somebody stepping up. There's always somebody on this team, whether it's one of the regular guys that you usually expect to step up, or whether it's one of these quadruple A plug-in fringe guys stepping up, or now you've got guys coming back from injury like El Reptil stepping in and having a no-hit night like he did tonight.
Yeah, he
And
did. He got it. And it's
it's
funny.
just the
They
heart of
had
this
such a
team. It's just the heart of this team.
yeah.
Every time
They don't.
they need something like
Yeah,
this, it happens. It's just crazy.
yeah. They don't get themselves down when they have a bad run of it. They had that run and against the Orioles and the Tigers when they couldn't score. And you remember I had a friend of mine bring this up that as kind of a
A little conspiracy
as kind
theory.
of a hot take theory, kind of a hot take theory. And actually, it makes sense because Pena was sick, Javier was sick. I mean, who knows if the whole team wasn't sick? And the Astros are so notoriously tight-lipped about how about their medicals. They could have been everyone sick, and they were just going out there doing the best they can and hoping not to leave it out on the field.
Yep.
And
I mean, hey,
exactly, and it's just
Espada was out the other night. Was that last night or
yeah,
Wednesday night?
Espada was
Yep.
sick, so
Yep. Yeah, maybe
so
something was going through the
even
clubhouse there, and they just weren't talking much about it. Everybody was just a little down and
yeah,
out
well,
of it for a couple of weeks.
yeah, and it's nice to see the pitching really step up because the ERA since the Red Sox series uh, has been close to 6. So as we get into September and you really get into nut cutting time, it's time for the pitching to be what the pitching has, and like Framber was the other day. Man, Framber was nails.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Always coming back around. This team. Don't ever count them out. Ben Verlander
No,
says it all the time. The Astros are inevitable, and this team just
yeah,
always continues to show up. Not that the Angels are a brutal, worthy opponent, but it's really nice to see a guy like Christian Javier come out to the bump on a night like tonight, and essentially throw a no hitter.
yeah. It was interesting what TK and Blum said. This is the first time he's left after throwing a no hitter. They didn't finish the deal off.
Yep.
But the Astros have such a fine line, a finer line this year, finer edge than ever before because the hitting is just not what it was. I mean, I took a look at some of the hitting over the last years, and there have been a lot of fans who have looked at Centron, looked at Snitker, and saying, are they the problem? Is the approach the problem? When you look at the approach as far as strikeouts, number of strikeouts, pitches per at bat since 2017, it's really not that much difference. A little fewer pitches per at bat this year. And one reason is the players aren't as good. When you take a look at what we had back in 17, 19, and 22, especially those 17 and 19 teams, that 17 team is a beast.
It was insane.
It was insane. Just a few numbers of what some OPSs were for the 17 team. Brian McCann had a 759. Yuli had an 818. Jose was close to 1,000. It was like 957. The shortstop was Correa at 941. Bregman at 827. You just get the idea of what it was. Hole in that lineup was Carlos Beltran, and he didn't play that much down the way.
Nope.
Down the road. Carlos was too busy looking for cans. But he yeah. But those teams were a beast. It's not the approach, it's the players. And Jimmy Johnson had the famous line about it's not about the X's and O's, it's the Jimmys and Joes.
Yeah.
You take a look and if you overlay our lineup in 2025 against the lineups of 17 and 19, and to a lesser extent 22, there's just no comparison.
Well, and I guess you can take into account, especially for a large portion of this year, the number of guys that were fringe players.
Yeah,
Waiver wire guys, AAA
exactly what we're
call-ups,
saying.
rookies. And this is, you can't expect to have previous year's production out of a team that's been put together with what you're saying, baling wire and chewing gum.
Chewing gum and baling wire, just holding it together, man.
Yeah. It's been something to really watch. And when you start looking at the offense and the roller coaster ride that this season has been, really because of the injuries and because of the makeup and the lineup of this team. Now coming back together, looking at lineups like tonight, Brian McTaggart made a post that started to get quite a bit of run. He said, "Is tonight's lineup the best lineup that the Astros have put on the field yet this season?"
Yeah, and you had a good response saying that Jake's not there.
Yeah, Dubon
Dubon
in
was in
center
center
field
field.
kind of negates that. But with the current players available, I might eat a little crow and say that
Well, it until Jake comes back, he's not back.
yeah, he's not back. Yep. But the disappointing part
You know,
about that is that they only scored 2 runs tonight. And if this was the
yeah,
best lineup that the team can field currently with some of these games that are coming up on the schedule against the Yankees and going to be hitting Seattle soon and Rangers coming up again soon. Does that concern you a little bit?
when you can't score, it always concerns me. What concerned me more than anything else, for example, is when they had a chance with bases loaded and no one out,
Twice.
and twice, and it was disappointing that it looked like Yiner didn't have a plan. Now we try to stay away from criticizing the effort, and the effort's there, but when you see a guy up there with bases loaded, you should be thinking as a batter, what am I going to get with a certain pitch? I'm looking for a certain pitch. I'm going to try to do something with a certain pitch. The easiest way to knock in a run is take an outside pitch and hit it in the air to right field.
Yep. And I
And he
sent
took
you, I sent you a
yeah,
text, and I said, I think it's catching up to Yiner. He had a really good year. He's a high contact guy, free swinger. I think maybe he's just gotten into his head that he can hit anything that's thrown from the
he's
pitcher,
always been that way.
and he's always
He's
been
always been
that way.
that way.
But I don't understand if he's behind it. He's not seeing the ball well. I'm not a hitting coach. It's not easy for me to break down
Yeah,
and watch what he's
I'm not
doing,
either. And
but it's frustrating to watch him up there just swinging at literally anything. And you even said it. And then sometimes, in a lot of cases, actually, watching stuff fly straight down.
well, he had a stretch a few weeks ago where he was really starting to manage the strike zone.
It seemed like
And you
it.
keep on thinking, is the light coming on? Is he understanding? And you heard the TK and Blum talk about it. You and I've talked about it all season. Is that when's he going to quadrant off that strike zone? When is he gonna say, I'm an 0-0 count. The guy throws me a two-seam fastball. I don't care if it's a striker ball or not. It's inside. It's running in. I'm gonna hit the little two hopper to third base, and that's what's gonna happen. That's what happened tonight. Um, granted, as we always say, these guys are so talented. They do things, in their sleep that we could never do in our lives. But that's what we see.
Yeah, it is just frustrating because you can tell and based on what he's already done in the past, the kid's loaded with talent. And especially with the bat being up there, and he's got the ability to knock it out of the park. He's got the ability to go
He is
oppo.
so strong.
He's strong, and he's quick. He can run out even infield hits. So
Yeah.
I just hope that he can really figure it out. And again, yeah, maybe he's just gotten into his head and just thinks that he can hit anything. I don't know if it's an ego cocky thing, or if it's now that he's been up in the league for a while, he's pushing and stretching, and he's put some pressure on himself to perform and live up to the hype, I guess you could say. And he's just trying too hard.
He's getting to the point though in his career where these types of things need to click.
Yes.
You get it okay with Cam Smith. Cam's a rookie, but I tell you, when Cam Smith, a little play Cam made tonight, that line drive that was almost caught at shortstop.
Yes.
Yeah, he the base running was perfect on that.
Yep. Yeah, Cam's got wheels. That was
he just knows how to play the game.
Too. it's just, I keep saying, I mean, Bagwell was saying it the other night on the broadcast. I see this kid being a star. He's just got all of the tools. He's got all of the things too up in his head, and just a matter of time for that kid. I think that that's
That's what Correa said after the game.
yes.
So we were talking a little bit about the Mariners doing the Astros a favor tonight. They've got Cleveland now,
Good. Yep.
and as you look out for the starting today, the combined records of the opponents for the rest of the year is the 614, 599, and 599 for the Astros, a little over 500, and the Mariners opponents are a little under 500. Notably, that the Astros play the Mariners the third to last game series of the year. The Astros have the Rangers twice. They go on a really tough road trip after this homestand to Texas, to Toronto, to Atlanta. The Mariners are in the middle of another three-city road trip: Guardians, Tampa, and Atlanta. And you just hope that the Astros can handle Atlanta, because they should, and that Atlanta shows a life against the Mariners. One series is going to be tough for the Mariners, and it is going to be at the Royals, because if the Mariners, who are not good on the road, are close in the wild card race, the Royals will be nipping at their heels, and that could be a really, really competitive series. They've got the Rockies. The Mariners have the Rockies, the second to last series of the year. But I've seen the Rockies play twice. Now, I saw them up in Denver, and then I saw them down here the other day. They don't have any talent, but they play the game pretty clean.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I thought the game yesterday, they lost, but they played the game properly. The same way that I saw the walk-off in Colorado when they beat the Dodgers. They played the game hard. They played the game right. They didn't kick the ball around.
Yep. Yeah, it's nice to watch some good baseball. Young teams like that, guys that still care. They haven't written it in and given up. So they still care. The Mariners,
Anything
I'm just
you see in that schedule that?
Well, yeah, specifically, I was running back. I was running backwards on the Mariners and kind of using some of the last 10 games or so to look ahead. And the Mariners their on base percentage of 290, a slug of 414, an OPS of 704. I mean, they haven't been good in their last 10 games. So, I don't know if there's that much of an advantage for them, really, when the Astros seem to be kind of putting some stuff together. The Mariners have gone 4 for 6. I don't know, man. I just don't see, unless they really catch fire and the Astros totally fall on their face. The division.
The Astros have given the
is
Mariners every
single
opportunity
chance.
to dust them.
Every single chance.
They had that run where the Astros are getting smoked, and then the Mariners get swept by Philly.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a tough team, but
the Mariners don't
you should
have
at least
win
one.
They don't have that easy of a run ahead of them. I mean, now they've got the
it's not that
Guardians,
much.
the Rays, the Braves, and then they go into St. Louis.
Yeah, you take out the Rockies. It's similar. It's similar. It's not so terrible. It's not super easy. It's
I think the thing that the
Astros
have going for them, if we're kind of breaking this up, the thing that the Astros have going for them is a lot of the games that they have coming up are high rival, high stress, punch them in the face type of games, and series. You've got the series of the Yankees. I mean, you said it, series of the Yankees. They've got a series with Seattle, series with Rangers. These are
two with the Rangers.
These are high pressure series, and the Astros love to go into those high pressure series and perform well. It always seems to be that the Astros go into teams that are just kind of doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that
They
big of a
play to the
deal.
competition.
They play down to the Rockies, they play down to the A's. Um, they know that the Yankees are coming to town. They know that they're going to Texas.
Yeah.
They know they're going to play Seattle and the importance that those games have. And the Astros always play in those series and play them like they matter. And so I think that's
Sure they
the
do.
edge that the Astros have coming up. Whereas, the Mariners, they've got, like I said, the Rays, the Braves, the Guardians, Cardinals. It's kind of like, these games matter. Yes, they're professionals. Don't get me wrong. But the pressure and the fanfare around the series that the Astros have, there's just higher stakes there.
And I think, again, I come back to said, I've said once, said 1,000 times, the Astros are used to winning.
Yes.
Not that it makes that much. Well, it could make that much difference because the Mariners are so dreadful away from Seattle. They're really good in Seattle, dreadful away. They've got 5 road series, and they're starting with this tonight. They've got 5 road series, 4 home series left, and the Astros have 5 home series. 1, 2, 3, 4. They both have. They both have 5. Both have 4 home series and 5 road series. So that evens up, and each team also has 3 games, 3 days off.
That's nice. The Astros can use that. The
Sure
Astros
can.
could definitely use that, especially for the bullpen. Which, interestingly enough, we thought maybe we would bring this up, maybe we wouldn't. Lance McCullers' short-term trip to the bullpen hasn't been used, and now, according to some chatter on Twitter earlier today, could be available to close out the Angels series as the starter. What do you take from the, I don't know, the
I think there's more going on.
the non-committal conversation or the non-committal information coming out about Lance McCullers?
I think there's a lot more going on than we know about. I think there's
Meaning
probably
what?
some things going. Well, you never know. I mean, Lance had a blister, and then he goes to Florida.
3-week long blister.
You know, Yeah, just a lot of weird stuff that doesn't make sense. And when you look at it and say it doesn't make sense, then you can look at it and say, maybe there's a little more going on than we need to know or than we know. And they're not going to tell us. And of course, the Astros aren't going to tell us.
Right, right. Luis Garcia looking really good in his last rehab start. That could
Lengthening
be,
his motion out too.
yes, that could be a huge boost here over the next week and a half, I guess. I didn't hear if he's going to be taking another rehab start or if they're planning on him coming back for the Yankees series.
I haven't heard anything at all.
Okay.
Pretty soon they're going to have to, especially given the bullpen the way it is. It would surprise me none if they tandem start these guys, because you look at it, what it would have been tonight. You had Javier for 5 or 6, and then you bring in Garcia, and he just goes 3.
Yeah,
When he's coming back early, he's got a short hook.
for sure.
Of the guys that have been down, he's had the best performance down in the minors.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's been
the
really
most
good.
solid by far. The most solid by far.
He's been really good.
Yep. Jake Myers is in Sugarland getting some rehab work.
Yep.
That could be a huge boost if he actually comes back healthy and can do what Jake Myers was doing in May, early June.
Yeah. Well, just putting him in center field where you can get Doobie to move around, which Doobie does best.
Yes.
That's where he's best for us, when he can play 5 games in 4 different positions.
Yep. For me, I guess the concern is that Jake's injury was his leg, which that's his greatest asset out there in center field.
Well, and it was also a soft tissue
It was
injury, and
calf muscle.
those soft tissue injuries, you never can tell.
Yeah. Yep.
So, whipping around the baseball,
Let's do it.
we're coming down we're coming into the last last month of the season. Let's go ahead and call this September, even though it's still August, because we're a month out. I think a month out today or yesterday. The NL East, the Phillies were way up. The Mets swept them, but they won last night to go back up a little bit. And it seems like with the NL East that it's a 5-game lead. And you figure that uh, if Phillies can just go 500, the Mets have to go something like 21-10 or something like that or not even that. They have to go somewhere in the 20, 28-6 or something like that to be able to catch them.
Yep.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
The same thing in the Central. If the Brewers go 14-13, Cubs have to go 21-7.
Yep. Well, I mean, the Mets, the Mets are barely holding on to a wild card spot with the Cubs and the Padres still playing decent ball the way that they are.
Yeah. What do you think about the Mets? Do you think they've got enough to? I mean, they're probably going to be in because unless things really go south, it's the Cubs, Mets, and the Padres. Mets are 5 up on the Reds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
I think the Reds are mathematically still there, but let's.
They're getting
they're 3-7 over their last 10, so they're just not playing good ball right now. They've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, they're on life. They're on life support. Mets have played 135 games, and so figure out you've got 27 games left, and so just do the math to make up five games. You've got to make up more than a game a week, which is kind of that's my way of looking at it. When you start having to make up more than a game a week, you're in serious trouble. NL West, what do you think with the Dodgers and the Padres?
It's tight. I don't know what the schedule looks like as far as do they have any head-to-head games here on?
I think they're done, but I'm not positive. But the Dodgers have a decent schedule, reasonable schedule, but they have Philly and Seattle in the last 2 weeks. Padres seem to have a little bit easier of a schedule, but they have Milwaukee at home in the last week of the season. They also have Padres have 2 series against Colorado, but I think the Dodgers still hold on. Dodgers hold on for the same reason the Astros hold on. It looks
like they do. It looks like the Dodgers and the Padres will not face each other again. So yeah,
I think they're done
head to head. So
do you miss? Hey, something we've talked about since we get into this. Do you miss not having as many division games and at the expense of
yes
of having all the interleague games?
Yes, 100%, absolutely. I think
interleague
is fine. It prepares you a little bit for the playoffs because you get to see the other teams a little bit, but division rivalries, man, and the importance of those interdivision games. It things have kind of changed, especially when they worked out the schedules to where you had, in the last 30 games of the season, 6 of those were against your division rivals.
Yeah.
And the division, if it was a tight division, it wasn't wrapped up until the last 10 days of the season. Those were such fun times.
Yeah, well, like the Astros do it, they did the Astros the way you should, because we ended up with the Rangers, Seattle Athletics, and Angels. Well, the Mariners, the only team that they play in their own division in the last 4 series is the Astros,
yes.
And then 2 of those are interleague series, and I just can't get my arms around the idea that you're playing down the end. You're not fighting it out with your own division,
right?
I know 19 games is a lot to play in your division, but man, there's a visceral hate that gets worked out against these guys.
It does. There
you
really
know,
is. That's great.
uh,
That's great.
the trying to see if the Blue Jays lost tonight. Yankees have won 6 in a row to move to within 3. Now, here's the thing with the Yankees. If you have good pitching against them that will keep the ball in the park, eventually the Yankees will kick the game away. I mean, they are the worst fundamental. I'd put it to you, the Rockies fundamentally are better than the Yankees. They're terrible. And that will catch up with them. You can't hit home runs every game. I mean, just and expect. Let's see who the Blue Jays lost. Oh, the Brewers beat them 7-2 at home, and Yankees have the White Sox. So hey, Blue Jays don't look out. They're going to be tied at the end of the weekend.
Yep.
Red Sox, Yankees, the Blue Jays just with 3 games left, it's getting tight. They're going to have to win a few more than they lose. Central's over unless something catastrophic happens.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the AL West could be the best race of the bunch because, again, as we talked about, the Astros and the Mariners have seen each other enough. They just don't like each other very much. I think the Mariners really don't like the Astros.
I think so. I think so.
I think the Astros are living rent free.
It's great. It's great. And the funny thing about this is that it the Mariners could miss the playoffs altogether. They could lose the division by 2 games and still miss the playoffs.
Wouldn't that be glorious?
That would be just amazing. That would be just amazing.
Ever since Cal Raleigh had that thing where he said, well, it's always a good day when the Astros lose.
Yes. Yeah. That you put that, play that on repeat.
The only thing that could be better is for Raleigh to get popped for PEDs in the last 3 weeks of the season.
What is that guy drinking? What is he drinking? What is he eating? Where did this come from? Cal Raleigh. I know he's still young.
Well, he
he's
was good.
28 years old.
He was
he's
good last year.
He's never hit more than 35 home runs this season. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
Where does this come from? And as a player in Seattle, of all places, in that ballpark, Ollie, there's just, as a baseball fan, it's cool to see home runs. I love to see home runs. But and even as an Astros fan and Mariners hater, as an objective baseball fan, you have to look at that situation with Hal Raleigh and say, what?
And we say that's
How?
things that make you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's an excellent defensive catcher. The thing that's been surprising for me is with him is being a catcher has been no fall off. You got to give him credit until you find out that it's something that's different.
Yeah, I mean, for the sake of baseball, I really hope that there's nothing nefarious going on. For the sake of baseball, I really do. I really do. And like I said, the guy's still young, 28, 29, right? So,
27, something like that. He's not old.
So maybe he's peaking right now. And that's fine. Maybe he figured something out in his swing, a hitch. Somebody figured something out over the offseason, and he's, the pitchers haven't.
Worst thing about it is he went to Florida State.
Says the Miami guy, right? Yeah. But the whole season, the pitchers haven't figured out something, and
how to get him out.
And he's just still cranking them. And again, in that cavernous ballpark up there in Seattle.
Yeah,
I mean, again, good for him. And for the sake of baseball, I really hope that this is just, that it plays clean and we never find anything out.
And to be fair, there's never been any talk about him like we talk about Adolis Garcia just because his body type changed so much.
Yep.
You just have to. You really have to enjoy the fact that he is. Yes, he doesn't catch every day like Johnny Bench did. He gets some DH days, but it's pretty amazing stuff.
It is. Good for him.
Thoughts for the rest of the weekend? What do the Astros do? Do you think we sweep them?
I think we sweep them. I think we have to. I think tonight might have been a little bit of a wake up call. Hey guys, we got to get some offense going. Somebody other than Jordan and Correa making some stuff happen.
Yeah.
I think that
Great at bat by Correa to drive in the run.
that was a great at bat, and wheels by Cam like that. He turned on the afterburners, and he had to have that run. He was going to score it. So,
Oh yeah,
yep,
yep.
absolutely.
I think the Angels figure out a way to win one, but I think they take 3 out of 4.
Okay.
And as any team that comes in, if you win 2 out of 3 the rest of the season, you win all the series the rest of the season, you'll win. You'll be fine.
Yes, I think so. I
It's
think
just
so.
how it is.
Yep. I'm not worried about the Astros. I kind of like the way that I see things going again with some of the guys coming back. Jordan coming in, getting healthy, seeing the ball well. Man, Correa was such a good addition to this team.
He's the adult in the room.
Yes. Yep.
He's just the adult in the room.
He is. Dana made some good moves. And some of that stuff's paying off. Really is.
Yeah.
Really is.
Yeah.
Jesus Sanchez is showing to be a good addition to this team, especially against left-handed pitching.
That's depth anyway.
Yep.
Good depth piece.
Absolutely. Well, any final thoughts then aside from that?
No, I think it's been, it's a nice way to open up. It's the kind of game tonight. It's that you're glad to win. If you'd lost, you'd really felt in the dumps, but go get them tomorrow night and just, don't take advantage of what the Mariners gave you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, for my man Wally, I'm Ryan. This is a late night after hours.
After dark. Third Diamond After Dark.
Edition of Dirt Diamond Sports Talk. And until next time, Wally, give it to us.
Yes. Here you go.
Go Stros.
Go Stros. Hey,